January 2026 was meant to mark a dramatic reinvention for one of the most talked about women in modern celebrity culture. After years of headlines, interviews, documentaries, and nonstop public scrutiny, Elena Hart believed she had finally reached the point where the chaos of her past could no longer touch her future. From glamorous charity galas in Europe to luxury parties hidden behind the walls of private estates in California, she had spent more than a decade carefully shaping an image built around elegance, ambition, and empowerment. To the public, Elena represented reinvention. She was the woman who had transformed herself from a struggling television actress into a global figure connected to royalty, power, and influence. Every public appearance was calculated. Every interview carried the same carefully polished message about resilience, compassion, and rising above adversity. The old rumors that once followed her through Toronto, Los Angeles, and London were supposed to remain buried beneath legal threats, confidential settlements, and the short attention span of the internet. But the digital age does not allow stories to disappear forever. Old controversies do not die. They wait. They remain hidden beneath archived articles, forgotten photographs, deleted social posts, and whispered conversations between people who were once close to the situation. All it takes is one influential voice to reopen the conversation and pull those hidden pieces back into public view. That voice belonged to controversial podcast giant Victor Kane. When reports surfaced that Kane had started discussing Elena's alleged past connections to elite social circles, the reaction online exploded almost instantly. This was not another celebrity gossip article tucked into a tabloid magazine. It was not a random blogger looking for clicks. Victor Kane was different. He had built one of the largest independent media platforms in the world, precisely because he refused to follow traditional media rules. He answered to nobody, no corporate executives, no publicists, no elite institutions. Millions of listeners tuned into his broadcasts because they believed he was willing to ask questions others avoided. Whether people agreed with him or not, they understood one thing clearly. Once Kane focused on a subject, he rarely let it go. And this time, his attention landed directly on Elena Hart. The discussion quickly moved beyond harmless celebrity speculation. Kane began revisiting old claims involving luxury yacht parties, private networking clubs, and relationships with wealthy figures connected to powerful international circles. He questioned how a relatively unknown actress had suddenly gained access to environments typically reserved for billionaires, political insiders, and aristocrats. The timing could not have been worse. Elena had recently launched a major lifestyle brand focused on wellness, luxury living, and modern femininity. She was preparing new streaming projects, endorsement campaigns, and high-profile appearances designed to present her as a refined businesswoman entering a fresh phase of her career. Instead of discussing her new ventures, the public suddenly became obsessed with her past. Kane's broadcasts did not accuse Elena directly of criminal behavior. Instead, he focused on unanswered questions. He highlighted inconsistencies in timelines, connections between influential people, and rumors that had circulated quietly for years inside entertainment circles. That strategy proved devastating, because in modern media culture, direct accusations are not always necessary. Curiosity alone can ignite a firestorm. The more Kane discussed the subject, the more social media users began revisiting old photographs, interviews, and archived stories. Clips from Elena's early acting years resurfaced online. Former acquaintances gave anonymous interviews. Internet forums that had once been ignored suddenly exploded with renewed activity. The central issue was no longer whether every rumor was true. The issue became why those rumors had survived for so long. Inside Hollywood, public relations teams reportedly panicked. Brands connected to Elena monitored online reactions carefully, while executives debated whether ongoing partnerships might become liabilities. Her advisors understood the danger immediately. Victor Kane's audience trusted him because he sounded unscripted and fearless. Traditional media could often dismiss controversial stories through carefully worded statements and legal pressure. But Kane operated outside those systems. Attempting to silence him risked creating even greater attention. The deeper he dug, the more fascinated his audience became. Kane revisited Elena's rise from television actress to global celebrity and questioned whether her success had truly been accidental. He explored the role of private clubs, influential social connectors, and wealthy benefactors who appeared repeatedly throughout her personal timeline. He suggested that modern celebrity culture was built less on talent and more on strategic networking behind closed doors. That message resonated strongly with listeners already skeptical of elite institutions. To many viewers, Elena's story had once resembled a modern fairy tale. Kane reframed it as something entirely different, a calculated climb through carefully cultivated relationships and exclusive access. The internet reacted exactly as expected. Supporters defended Elena fiercely, accusing Kane of exploiting sexism, gossip, and conspiracy theories for entertainment. Critics argued that powerful celebrities often benefited from media protection unavailable to ordinary people. Meanwhile, Elena herself remained silent. That silence only intensified the speculation. Every day without a direct response fueled additional theories. Entertainment reporters analyzed her public schedule. Commentators debated whether her legal team would intervene. Former industry insiders suddenly claimed to possess hidden knowledge about elite party culture during the early 2000s. The story had evolved far beyond a celebrity controversy. It became a public battle over influence, narrative control, and the growing distrust between independent media and traditional institutions. Victor Kane understood something many public figures failed to recognize. In the modern world, reputation is no longer controlled solely by newspapers, television interviews, or carefully managed press campaigns. It is controlled by public perception, and public perception can shift overnight when millions of people begin asking the same uncomfortable questions. As the controversy intensified, one reality became impossible to ignore. Elena Hart's carefully protected image was beginning to fracture. And once cracks appear in a public identity built on perfection, every hidden shadow suddenly becomes visible. Victor Kane was not considered dangerous because of political power or financial influence. He was considered dangerous because he had mastered attention. For more than a decade, Kane transformed himself from a controversial commentator into one of the most influential voices in global media. His audience stretched across continents, demographics, and political ideologies. Some viewed him as brutally honest. Others believed he thrived on controversy. But almost everyone agreed on one point. Once Kane focused his attention on a subject, the entire internet followed. That reality terrified celebrity publicists. Traditional media operated according to familiar rules. Stories could be softened through negotiated interviews, carefully selected photographs, and legal warnings delivered by expensive attorneys. Public figures learned how to survive scandals by controlling access. Victor Kane ignored those rules completely. He invited unpredictable guests onto his platform and allowed conversations to unfold for hours without interruption. Topics mainstream networks considered risky or inappropriate often became central themes in his broadcasts. His audience valued spontaneity over polish and skepticism over public relations language. That environment made Elena Hart uniquely vulnerable. Her entire public identity relied heavily on image management. Every statement released by her team was carefully measured. Every appearance was designed to reinforce a specific narrative about empowerment, compassion, and resilience. Kane disrupted that system by refusing to treat celebrity narratives as unquestionable truth. During several episodes, he revisited old interviews in which Elena described her rise to fame as accidental and organic. Kane questioned whether someone with limited acting success could realistically gain rapid access to elite international circles without assistance from powerful intermediaries. Again, he stopped short of making direct accusations. Instead, he focused on patterns. He pointed toward recurring names connected to private clubs, luxury travel events, and exclusive social gatherings attended by wealthy businessmen, aristocrats, and entertainment executives. Kane argued that modern celebrity culture often functioned through hidden networking structures invisible to ordinary people. Those comments ignited massive debate online. Some listeners interpreted Kane's remarks as a legitimate critique of celebrity privilege and elite networking. Others accused him of fueling speculation without concrete evidence, but controversy only strengthened his platform. Each viral clip generated millions of views across social media. Podcast segments discussing Elena trended repeatedly for days at a time. Independent commentators produced analysis videos examining timelines, photographs, and rumors connected to her early career. The situation escalated when Kane invited investigative writer Rebecca Sloan onto his show. Sloan had spent years researching the relationship between celebrity culture, wealth, and private social networks operating behind luxury hospitality brands. During the interview, she discussed how exclusive clubs often served as meeting grounds for influential individuals seeking privacy away from journalists and public scrutiny. Without making definitive claims about Elena, Sloan suggested that ambitious entertainers frequently used such spaces to build strategic relationships. That conversation became one of the most discussed interviews of the year. Viewers dissected every statement. Comment sections exploded with theories. Mainstream media outlets attempted to downplay the controversy, but their silence created additional suspicion among Kane's audience. Many listeners argued that large entertainment corporations avoided investigating certain stories because too many influential individuals were connected to the same networks. Kane leaned directly into that argument. He repeatedly questioned why certain rumors surrounding elite social circles remained taboo despite years of public discussion online. He argued that powerful institutions often protected carefully crafted public figures because those figures generated enormous financial value. The deeper the discussion went, the more pressure mounted around Elena's business empire. Executives connected to endorsement campaigns quietly monitored online sentiment. Luxury brands feared association with ongoing controversy. Streaming companies debated whether future projects involving Elena could become public relations risks. In modern entertainment, perception determines profitability, and perception was shifting rapidly. Meanwhile, Elena's silence became increasingly noticeable. Critics interpreted her refusal to respond as evidence of vulnerability. Supporters argued that engaging with internet speculation would only legitimize unfounded rumors. Privately, however, insiders described growing anxiety behind the scenes. Crisis management teams reportedly struggled to contain the conversation because Kane's platform functioned outside traditional media structures. There was no editor to pressure, no network executive to negotiate with, and no predictable news cycle waiting to move on. Every attempt to suppress discussion seemed to amplify it further. That phenomenon created a dangerous feedback loop. The more people attempted to dismiss the controversy, the more curious the public became. Questions surrounding Elena's early career, wealthy connections, and rapid rise into elite society transformed into a cultural obsession. What made the situation especially damaging was the emotional tone surrounding the debate. This was no longer simply gossip. To many listeners, Victor Kane represented rebellion against institutional media control. His audience believed they were uncovering truths deliberately hidden by powerful systems. Whether those beliefs were accurate became almost secondary. The emotional investment itself fueled the movement. As millions of people consumed clips, commentary, and speculation daily, Elena's carefully constructed image began colliding with a new narrative she could not fully control. Instead of a modern success story, critics increasingly portrayed her as someone who had mastered strategic social climbing inside hidden elite circles. That transformation threatened everything. Her business ventures depended heavily on authenticity and relatability. Consumers purchasing luxury wellness products wanted to believe in the image being sold. But authenticity becomes fragile once audiences begin questioning the foundation of the story itself. Victor Kane understood that perfectly. He never needed to prove every rumor. He only needed to convince millions of people that powerful institutions were afraid of the questions. And once that idea entered public consciousness, the controversy became nearly impossible to contain. As the controversy surrounding Eleanor Hart intensified, attention shifted toward one particular figure repeatedly mentioned throughout discussions online: Adrian Vale. To the public, Vale appeared to be nothing more than a successful executive connected to a private luxury membership network frequented by celebrities, investors, and influential political figures. But inside entertainment circles, his reputation carried far greater significance. He was known as a connector, the type of individual capable of introducing ambitious newcomers to powerful rooms hidden far away from cameras and public attention. Victor Kane became fascinated with Vale's role in Elena's rise. During several broadcasts, Kane questioned how an actress with modest professional success gained access to environments normally reserved for billionaires, aristocrats, and global elites. According to Kane, the answer seemed to revolve around strategic introductions facilitated by individuals operating behind the scenes. Adrian Vale quickly became central to that theory. Listeners learned that Vale had spent decades cultivating relationships across entertainment, politics, finance, and luxury hospitality. His private membership network promoted exclusivity as its greatest selling point. Invitations were carefully controlled. Privacy was sacred. Inside those spaces, influential people could interact away from journalists and public scrutiny. Kane argued that these environments functioned as modern power marketplaces, not necessarily illegal, not necessarily criminal, but deeply influential. He described a hidden social ecosystem where access itself became currency. Ambitious actors, entrepreneurs, models, and influencers entered these elite circles, hoping to build relationships capable of transforming their careers overnight. Again, Kane avoided direct accusations. Instead, he focused relentlessly on probabilities, patterns, and unanswered questions. Why did Vale appear repeatedly throughout Elena's timeline? How did their friendship become so influential? And perhaps most importantly, how did Elena transition from relative obscurity into the highest levels of international celebrity culture so rapidly? Those questions dominated online discussions for weeks. Internet investigators analyzed photographs, event appearances, travel records, and archived interviews searching for connections between Elena and Vale's exclusive social network. The deeper people looked, the more mysterious the story appeared. Some former members described Vale's organization as little more than a luxury networking brand for wealthy professionals. Others portrayed it as a secretive environment where influence operated quietly through personal relationships and private introductions. Kane's audience became obsessed with the idea that Elena's fairy tale rise had been strategically engineered long before the public ever noticed her. That theory gained additional momentum after discussions surrounding an infamous luxury travel event hosted along the Mediterranean coast years earlier. The event carried a glamorous public image built around yachts, parties, celebrities, and wealthy entrepreneurs. Promotional photographs showcased sunshine, champagne, and luxury tourism. But former attendees painted a darker picture.